Sorry.
And that's Whitney's and Dan's daughter, baby Lily. She's a beautiful girl. I love her, even though she cries every single time I get near her. But this webinar came to be during a previous webinar that Whitney had. We were sitting here at the On One studio, and just kind of Whitney was sharing some of her workflow, and the webinar topic wasn't about her workflow, but it came up, and I thought it was such a unique workflow of a working photographer that I decided to work with Whitney to get this particular session scheduled. So Whitney's going to share how she works with clients, how she gets everything prepped and ready for the deliverables and to accept payment. I think that's something that a lot of us are really curious about. So with that, I'm going to pass it along to Whitney. I'm sitting right next to her, so she'll share basically her story. This is going to be, there will be some processing in here, but this is going to be more of an educational session where Whitney shares thoughts along the way. So trust me, you're going to enjoy what Whitney has to share. So Whitney, it's all you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much to Brian and On One for having me today. And for those of you that are back again to listen to me, I appreciate you joining again. I really like Brian's intro there about this webinar, and it makes me a little nervous to give it, as I know how judgmental people can be about people's workflow and the way that they do things. My disclaimer for everybody is just know that I'm not telling you my way is the right way. It's just the way that I do it. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. Workflow to me is kind of like cooking. There's 1,000 different ways that you can do it, and you really just need to find the way that works best for you and is making you money. Even as long as I've been doing this, I constantly look for ways to improve or things to make it faster or different software or however that I can make it work. There's always room to grow and to learn from other people. The biggest thing that I think I've learned about workflow is, and I'm sure you guys know, that time is money. The longer we're spending in our post-production, the less money we're making. I know for me, I don't want to be working for $2 an hour or for nothing an hour, trying to spend too many hours in post, thinking that, the session, I got the session I shot and here I am doing, more than double in post-production, your hourly rate is going down. It is important that we price ourselves properly, considering how long it takes us in the post-production time. One big thing for me is, or I hear from other people, is being organized and keeping that organization consistent. I have a photographer friend that I've worked with that every time I'm near him, he has no idea where stuff is. He's looking on his computer, where did I put that? And he's trying to find it. For me, and I'll actually show you that a little bit now, I'm on my laptop today, and I normally do this on my main computer, so you might have to bear with me a little bit. But what I have is on my desktop, you'll see up in the upper right-hand corner, it says Bliss Clients, and I have a To Lab folder. This is my organization. If you open up the Bliss Clients folder, in it I have different categories depending on the job that I'm working on: children, family, seniors, and wedding. This works easier for me. I don't always archive all of my images off at the end of the year, but I've seen other people will do like a folder that says 2012, a folder that says 2013, and they keep all of their clients within the year. I have a lot of baby planners that carry over for a year, and I do need to keep them on my computer, so it works a little bit better for me to keep them in categories. And then at the end of the year, I'll go through and pull what I need to pull. In each folder, I have exactly my client's name. Sometimes there's also dates. It depends if I've got multiple from that client in a year or not. Inside a client's folder, I will have their images, and all of the images will go in here, whether it's the originals, the ordered, if I did any PSD collages, anything will go inside the original folder. They'll also have their Lightroom catalog. I do all of my editing in Lightroom. And then I will have an export folder, which this could technically get deleted, but I'll go into that a little bit more later. These are the images that I've exported out of Lightroom that I'll use for my selling software and for my Animoto slideshow. And I'll do those a little bit later. This may seem complicated. This may seem easy. I mean, I hope that everybody has some way that they're keeping them, again, all in the same location, all in the same spot, and keeping that consistent. The second folder that I have on here is my To Lab folder. And I use White House Custom Color for my lab, and they use a Rose software that you will use to make all of your orders if you're not familiar. But there's a minimum order that I have to make of, I think it's $12 every time. So I don't always send every job separately depending on what I'm ordering. I will try to do a lab order 1 or 2 times a week, and so I will save the images that are going to the lab within the folders of the size that they need. That way, all of my orders on, say Monday, will all be in this folder. I will open up my Rose software, and I will send all of my order to the lab. They also, their ordered images will also be in their file, but I will save an extra one that goes to my lab. And then once I've sent it to the lab, I dump it out of that folder. So I don't know if that's confusing or not, but that's one more just little organization.
So if you have, let's say, 4 projects, and of the 4 projects for that given week, you've got 10 of them are 8x10s, 10 of them are 11x14s. You don't break it down by project here. They just go into the respective size.
Right. And that's so that I can send multiple jobs to the lab at the same time.
Right.
So that, again, with workflow and being quick, I prep a job, I get it all ready for the lab, I will stick it in the lab folder, and I move on to the next job. I'll prep that lab, and I'll get it, or prep it for the lab, get it into the folder, and get it ready to go. So I'm only spending one time getting everything sent to the lab rather than trying to do that step 10 times.
Right.
So back to saving time, making it quick, making it efficient, this works the best for me.
And you said you send once a week batches, or do you do them several times a week?
I do at least once a week. Sometimes I will do it twice a week, and it just depends on how many jobs I have.
Right.
If it's a slow week or I don't have as much to go, I won't. But if there's a lot of stuff stacking up, I definitely want to get those out.
Got it.
And then you'll see there's another one on here that's press printed and album, and those actually go separate. You don't send those the same with White House. They go in a separate job anyway, so I would order those as well.
Got it.
So there is kind of the organization for the images. That'll help a little bit. Another suggestion for you guys is just keep with the flow. Don't change it for every job. I mean, if you have a system that's working for you, make sure that you're doing it with every single job. Make small changes if that's what you need to do, but don't try something new every time you're importing in a new job. I was when I was going through this a little bit, I was thinking how funny it was that back in the film days, and I am from the film days, shooting was the most important thing. And it seems nowadays you have 10 steps in your workflow that you have to do, and the smallest is really the shooting, and it's only one step. It's obviously just as important as the rest of them, but the digital world has really taken over and really added a lot to our workflow. It's not take your film to the lab, get it back, edit it down, and show your client, and you're done. I do have a little funny. I want to just let everybody know, too, back to the not judging what people do for their workflows. I do have a friend of mine that I'm helping do some design and editing work for. And he was going through his workflow for me and letting me know what he did. And the first thing he said to me was that he crops every image to an 8x10. And that's what he uses. He crops them, he does his work on them, and that's what he shows his client, and he makes all his images from that crop. My jaw did drop open a little, and I had to kind of take a step back and say, okay, why do you crop your images? And he didn't really have an honest answer for me other than clients didn't understand what an 8x10 crop was, and he got tired of explaining it, so he just started cropping them. Keep in mind this means he's taking those 8x10s and making 16x20s or anything that anybody wants he's using that 8x10 for. Again, who am I to judge? I thought he was crazy. I will admit it, but it's working for him. He's making money. He's an awesome photographer. His clients are happy. So don't get hard on yourself. Don't think that just hearing somebody doing it a certain way, means that you're doing it wrong. I mean, just do what works for you. So let's get started. I hope that was kind of makes sense on the little intro there. Do you want to interrupt real quick?
Do you want to do questions now, or do you want to wait?
Let's go into the actual workflow first.
Cool.
Because that was mostly just my intro. So I'm going to go through each steps. And I have on here 10 steps that we're going to go through that will kind of show you my workflow. So here's a little thing that I have here. I want to start with a pre-consultation. I know that that's not necessarily computer work, but to me it is a very important step to be able to do the rest of the steps in a good, timely fashion. The first thing that I do is I have my clients come to the studio for their pre-consultation. I want to sit down with my client, and I'm also interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing me. I want to make sure that the client is a good fit, that we will be able to get them what they need, and that they're happy with both my product, me, what I charge. I don't want to be disappointed or have them disappointed in the end that we're not on the same page. I do my pre-selling at the consultation where I will walk them around the studio. I have a couple shots of my studio if you haven't seen before. This is my front room. You'll see on the left there I've got, these are some bloom frames. Everything on my walls I have displayed for stuff that I want to sell. I do try to keep it very personal in here. If you see the doors, they have actually chalkboard paint on here. When I'm doing a shoot, I'll put welcome, Mr. Teagan. I will put, my clients' names on the doors when they're heading into the design studio. And actually, I do call my sales room a design studio instead of a sales room. So we're, prepping the client for the fact that they're coming in to design some art, not just coming to give me all of their money.
It's such a good point, to not make them forget that this is actually a business transaction and that rather this is kind of an experience.
Right. And you want them to spend that way. I mean, you want them to spend because they have to have this piece of art on their walls. It's very important to them. And I want them to see how important it is to me to sell that finished product as well. We've talked in the past about selling negatives and all of that. And I'm not a digital file is what I'll tell people. I am art. I want to create something. I want to design, whether it's an art piece, whether it's an album, whether it's something finished for my client. And that should be why they're coming to me. If they're coming to me for a different purpose, I will send them somewhere else. So this is my design studio here. You'll see there's a couch. It's hard to kind of see, but up in the right-hand corner, there's a projector, and I have a huge screen on this wall. It's the whole entire wall that they'll come in and see all of their images and do all of their selling. In the pre-consultation, we will talk about anything that I can do to get to know my client. We will talk about what their goals are, what it is we're shooting, what their likes and dislikes are, if they have anything that's important to them. Like I shot a baby and the dad loves baseball, so we kind of talked about that a little bit, and they ended up bringing a mitt and a ball for the baby. Anything that will help me know, what their plan is. I am primarily a kid and a family and baby shooter, so that is what you'll see displayed on all my walls. I know that they're looking for something that's going to go above their crib, or they're looking for an album, so I will help that as well.
So wait, can you go back for a second? So for this scene here, let's say you had a senior come in. Would you change up the look of the studio, or is this pretty much what it is?
This is pretty much what it is. I don't choose to change it just because I really want to show what I shoot the most of. I do shoot some seniors. I don't shoot a ton. Typically, the seniors are a referral from somebody else, so they already know who I am. I do have senior shots on my website, as well as I have senior albums in here. My seniors tend to buy albums more than they buy wall portraits. So for me, it's back to showing on my wall what that client's going to purchase. My babies and kids and families buy wall portraits, or they buy this little cluster you see in the back is actually hanging above this person's crib. So I know that that's what they are going to buy, or what I want them to buy. So I try to show what I want to sell. I do have seniors that buy wall portraits, but not as common. So I did end up pulling everything off the walls, and I just have my kids' stuff now.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, that's okay. So back to the pre-selling a little bit. This is a baby plan, but what I'm showing with these is I have little 5x7 cards that are mounted to a board that are in my studio. And this is what I will show them when they come in, to also start giving them ideas of what they're hoping to accomplish at the end. These are wall collections that I sell. They're a little bit discounted. They come framed, they're finished, or they're canvas, whatever the client wants. But it gets them thinking about where they're going to hang it, where they're going to put it. Do they have a wall that they have something?
That's awesome.
I have clients that come in with photos of their walls, and actually I asked for them if they have them, and let me see, this is the space that I want to fill, and we will find something for them, whether it's a collage, whether it's a series of images. That very first image of the entry wall that has the series here. I sell these series all the time. Right to the right, it says Little Bloom Collections, and I have them in separate series. I sell 3s, 6s, and 4s all the time, little blocks of these. So being able to get them in there and being able to see, have them walk around the studio and know what we're shooting for helps me in my post-production.
Yeah, I mean, I want everyone to kind of see, like, let's go through here for a second. I'm gonna advance for you if you don't mind. So obviously this is your price sheet, which I
This
think
is just one of them. I
right.
just grabbed one. This is my baby plans,
But it's great because it's, you know, it's laid out, it's got a unique style to it, and it's color coordinated. But also these, I've never seen anything like this, and maybe it's just because I haven't needed to find commission a baby photographer. But I love this, and this is something I want people to really kind of take note of is how well, it's essentially the photographer is truly becoming a consultant for the customer. Not just taking a picture and editing the picture and giving them a picture. You're showing them how they can really bring that picture and mature it to the point where it's hanging or it's standing in their house. And that to me is just fantastic. I love this. I absolutely love this.
And for me, I mean, that is what I want. I'm a designer as much as I am anything anymore, especially with the albums and everything that we're doing now. But I want them to come in and say, I don't know. What do you think? What images do you think? What do you think would look good? Here's the space I have. This is the size I have. And I do help them design for it. I do see that somebody asked if these are from Design a Glow, and they are. I did not design these. They were purchased from Design a Glow. And I don't know if they still have them. I've had them for quite a while, but I think they had a couple different sets that you can get. I'm not sure how they display them, but I send them through to my lab as a 5x7, mount them on styrene, and then I have them in a little stack in my studio with a ribbon wrapped around them. They're sitting on the coffee table along with my price list, so when my consults come in, they're able to open them up and look at them and lay them out on the coffee table. So they do really good, and the pricing is discounted a little bit, but it's not all about that. It's definitely more about them seeing a display on the wall. Same as the displays on my studio walls. They see it hung, they want it, that's what they envision on their walls. We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so pre-consultation. If I don't have any other questions about that, I'm probably going to keep going. Are we ready for step 2?
Yeah, let's go. We have some really great questions, but we'll get to them once you start getting further in.
Okay, so that was the pre-consultation. So hopefully by the end of your pre-consultation you have, or at least I have, an idea of what my client is hoping for, whether it's far away, candid black and white shot for their wall, or whether they're wanting an album, but I know what it is that I'm going into for their shoot. So this is the smallest step, but it is important. The shooting step is step 2. One of my advices is to try not to overshoot. That is a huge problem, even for me. I blame that on digital. If you go back to the film days again, those of you that shot film, I mean, we had one roll or 2 rolls, and that's what we did. I am a little bit guilty of overshooting. I will not lie to you. I probably shoot 400 to 600 images on a kid shoot. I really do think that is too many, and it should be more like 200 and 300, but it is what it is. When you're shooting babies, or when I'm shooting babies, I can get a little bit less because they're not really moving as much, so it's a little bit easier. Once I start getting into the toddler age, sometimes even the 6-month-olds, I am shooting a little bit more because it's a split second and you miss the shot or the smile or whatever it is that you're trying to get. Think about it this way too. I mean, if I shoot 400 to 600 images, I'm actually narrowing those down by about 90%. I give my clients anywhere from 40 to 60 images to pick from. Sometimes I miss that a little. Either I had too many that I liked, or maybe there's a little bit less, but I tell people about 40 to 60 is what they're going to end up with, which is perfect for me. If I'm doing album design, I usually want about 30 favorites, so my client is able to help kind of break those down in half, so it gives them a little bit of input. I do shoot in JPEG, and I will admit that. I know there's many RAW shooters, and if you're RAW shooters, that's okay too. It's been working for me. Yep. So I do shoot in JPEG. I also shoot in black and white, which is something that I get harassed for as well. But we're going to go back to the post-production again. Shooting in black and white is easy for me. I know what I want in black and white. I've got a quick button change that I do it, and I show my clients what I want them to have. So if I want them to have a black and white image, that image is in black and white. I don't let my clients switch black and white images, but they can take any color image and make it a black and white. I will allow that, but I will change stuff in a black and white in post-production, but if I can shoot it, it saves me a lot of time, and that is just something I prefer. And I'm going to say that goes back to film days again. I shot a roll of black and white film, and I shot a roll of color film. And you're shooting my monitor.
That was a cool display reflection. So I want to go through some questions because we have some really awesome questions here, and I think it'd be you don't have to spend a lot of time answering them, but they're just kind of logistical questions. So Rosalie is asking, in terms of those clusters, is that all agreed upon during that pre-consult, or is it like those different cards that you showed?
Not usually. Typically, people don't know what to expect when they come in, so giving them all these ideas can be a little bit overwhelming. Being able to do it during the pre-consultation rather than the selling session is much easier because their brain is already thinking. Their brain is thinking when they go home. Their brain is thinking when they come in for the session. Then they're going home again, excited about seeing the images, and they're having that time to think about it. Typically, I try to kind of get a direction. We want an album, we want a cluster, we want a collage, we want, something for a wall that we have at home. But I kind of want a little bit of an idea of where we're headed with it. They do not have to pay it ahead of time, and they don't have to decide till they come in for their sell session. But it's just good to be on the same page. If they're coming in wanting an album and I'm expecting that they're going to buy this whole big wall collection, we're not on the same page and we're not going to get the same results. And there's another step in here too that I will mock up some artist suggestions for people. So knowing in that pre-consult kind of what the goal is will help that as well. And I will get to that when I get to that area.
Okay, 2 more quick questions. We'll get to all the questions, but these, because we're talking about pre-consult, these 2 questions, one's from Casey, one's from Vivian. So the first question from Vivian is, how long does a typical pre-consultation session last? And then Casey's question is, of that, during the pre-consult, do you charge half or all of the session before you book it?
Pre-consultations last about an hour, give or take. An hour is usually good. If it's quicker than that, sometimes I think, that client wasn't really taking the time to invest in me, and it was just probably not a good fit. Much longer than that can sometimes be good. That just means we were, chitty-chatty, and it was probably a good fit, and we were enjoying ourselves. But typically when I book it, I book for an hour, and I tell people it's going to take about an hour. And then what was the second one? I'm sorry.
When you...
paying.
Yeah.
Paying. I don't actually collect at the pre-consult. I collect at the session. But if it were me, I would suggest probably collecting it at the consultation. I don't always. Sometimes people will pay it up front and sometimes people don't, but I am not too big on that.
Right. Cool. Let's continue on.
As I say, if you want to make sure your client shows up, it's probably better to make them pay. I've had people not show before, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Sure.
Okay, so let's keep going then. So that's my shooting. So let's move on from there. So my next step is going to be download. So we do the session, we come back home. The very first thing that I do, no matter what, is I pull out my file or my card and I download all of the images into their folder. So I have one here that I did, and it's in children in my Sano sample here. And all I did was make my folder, client's name, put it in the category that it is, so this is children, and then I added an image folder, and then these are the originals, and then here is all my originals that I downloaded in. The next step after they're downloaded is I immediately burn an original CD. So before I touch anything, or DVD, I guess, pop in your DVD, burn my originals, and I put that originals in their file. So and also I have on my computer an external backup. So they're on an external backup, they're on my computer, and they're in their file. So I've got them backed up plenty. I'm fine to format my card. Once I have the originals done, I will go ahead and import them into Lightroom. So I'm going to kind of work through my flow a little bit here. I use Lightroom for all of my editing. I use Photoshop for adding filters and effects. But we are going to create a new catalog. And I was already working in here, so you're going to see it. But we're going to do a Sano. And let's go back here. That's the one that's already done. So here's our sample. So I'm going to create a folder with their name in here that's going to hold my Lightroom catalog. If you're familiar with Lightroom, this is a piece of cake. If you're not, I'm helping you through it here a little bit. And as soon as this opens, here we go, we're going to go ahead and import in those original images. And it always does this. Is it users? Old Wit, desktop. when you have your workflow set, it usually comes up automatically, but I don't always do this on my laptop. So Bliss clients, children, and then the Sano samples, the one we're going to work on today, and then the image folder. So once you've clicked on the image folder, they come up with check marks. They're fine. I'm going to import all of those images. And I tried to make this a little faster since we don't have forever. I did narrow these down already really, really quick. I just grabbed some, and then I have this folder already done somewhere, so we'll kind of skip between the two. So you're going to see 100 images. We all know that that's a lie. I shot way more than that with this, but I've narrowed them down to 100 so you can see. Once I've imported them in, this might be an additional step, and I think I can do this upon import, but this is just the way that I'll do it, is I will go ahead and render standard size previews, and this is just so that I can look at them a little bit faster. People asking Lightroom questions?
Well, Joel wants to know if you use presets in Lightroom.
Nope. I don't. I do not use Lightroom for everything that it's capable of, and I probably should, and I will tell you now, my husband hates me for it and gets on me all the time because he says I need to use Lightroom to do other things. I have been so good with Photoshop, and that's my area of expertise. I really just use this for organizing, deleting, choosing favorites, and then I export them out for everything else that I need, or I import them into Photoshop, or open them in Photoshop, I should say, and do any of the effects that I need. Lightroom's wonderful. If you guys are Lightroom users and that works for your workflow, great. One of these days I'll probably use it more, but that's one thing that's always hard. Change is always hard. I don't want to learn something new.
Yeah.
So it puts a little kink in my workflow. Once I've got it, I have to have the time to be able to go backwards.
So there's two people asked the same question. So with Lightroom and catalogs, do you create a new catalog for every client?
I do. So, and you saw that kind of at the very beginning when I put them in. I think Dan actually has all his images in one catalog. I do. Each person has their own, so I can go through and open each catalog. Their folders in their file, so I can open their catalog, and it makes it pretty easy. I'm gonna go on another one while the previewers are doing it. When you import them and you do the previews, it does slow down the import. That's why I just import them in, and that way I can start working on them. I'll render them to the standard size while I'm working on them, so it'll do that in the background. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So once I have them in here, I will start working on the edits. One thing that I've learned is if you edit by choosing your favorites rather than by deleting, it seems to go a little faster. If it works better the other way for you, I have done it the other way, but if you have 500 images and you just toggle through them really quick and pick your favorites, I bet you could cut them in half a lot faster. Keep in mind, again, that's the main thing with workflow is just keeping it speedy, going through it as fast as you can. For me, I use the starring system, 5 for keeps, 1 for deletes. If you're doing it by favorites, I would just 5-star them as I'm going through. I'll just arrow through them really quick, and if I immediately like it, I will hit a 5, and you can see the little 5 stars down at the bottom. And I will just go through these as quickly as I can or back and forth. If you have 2 that are similar, I will pull up the 2, and I try to do as much of this part in Lightroom as I can so that I can pick which one I want. I'm going to keep the one on the left. We'll 5-star. Super simple, just to go through them really quick. I'm probably not going to go through all this because I think it'll be pointless because I've already done it. But once I have all of my stuff starred, I would go through and sort by rating, and then I would delete all of the ones that were not 5-starred. So I would just select all and hit delete, and I would delete them from disks, not remove. I would go ahead and take them away. They're backed up in my originals. If I make a mistake, very rarely do I have to pull out those original files, but just in case, you can do this. I'm going to pretend that I did deleted those. I'm going to open up the other catalog in here in just a second. Let me do that, actually, because I've already edited them. That way I don't have to torture you guys with all of the edits. So here is the Sano twins, and this will actually show you a finished job. And there's more than my original 40 to 60. This is a set of twins, so I did have a few more than I probably should have. Still doing good on the questions? I think we're
We
okay.
we have some great questions. I want to wait for you to when you're in a good place.
Okay. So here's the job already edited. So there's 89 of them here. One thing I didn't show in the other one is once they're edited and I have them down to what I want, I will go ahead and select all, and I do a batch rename on these. This is something that's a little important to me, and you'll see these have already been renamed. You'll see it says Sano 01, 02, 03. Couple reasons on this. It's much easier when you're doing your orders than having a IMG underscore 1086 or whatever they name them as well as I don't necessarily want my client to know that there's numbers missing. So if they're watching it, they might say, what happened to all the ones in between? And there is no ones in between. They're gone. So I want to make sure that I have a nice, simple system here. So to rename, you're just going to go up to Library, hit Rename Photos, make sure they're all selected, and then I have mine set in the custom. I will just change the original to their last name. So, and I'll put their last name in there, a sequence of 3, and hit done.
Yeah, I mean, also you can also do this. It depends, and I'm probably going to kick myself for bringing it up, but depending on the camera, and I know with the 5D Mark III, the Canon 5D Mark III that I shoot with, you can actually, and I know Nikon's allow this, you could set the file name, the prefix, on the camera. And so if I'm doing a job or something like that, or a specific shoot, I'll go in before the shoot starts and I'll change that prefix so that when I import it, it's one less thing I have to do. But this is also, I agree with you 100%, this is like really important with file names.
It is. And I mean, once they're renamed and I've done my effects, we'll get there. I mean, I will burn another disc too, and this is the disc that I'll go back and use. I mean, the original disc is really there if I made a mistake. If I saved over something I didn't mean to, or way down the road I caught something that was blurry or something. But for the most part, these are the main images that I'd be using. So once I have them renamed and I have them edited down to the ones that I want, I would go through these and select a few of my favorites, typically 3 to 4 no matter what I would use for my social media. So I would Facebook them, make my blog post, a couple of my favorites, and those are the ones that I would work on or add a little bit of flair to them or a little vintage effect, which I've done it on a few of these already. This one has a little bit of a vintage effect to it. If we have time at the end, I kind of told Brian I can go back and do this. I do use Perfect Effects, to catch myself on the name.
Nice.
Perfect Effects to add some of my filters. I have them saved as presets, so it's super quick. I can just open them up, do the changes that I need, and be done. I do try to keep a consistent look through my images, or at least through the job that I'm working on. So, I mean, and I kind of have a consistent style, I think, through all my images, but I will try to use similar effects on the images to make it look and feel the same or similar.
This is the field that we went to, right?
This is, actually.
Right.
This is
this the first time you went, or did you go back?
No, this is the first time I went.
Okay.
I actually took Brian and my husband here to go do some shooting the day after I did these twins at this little park. It was beautiful, beautiful spot. So you can kind of see, I'm just opening a couple of them. These all have a little bit of vintage to it. This cracks me up. This little girl did not cry. You can see the images are great. She did for 2 seconds, but still perfect. So these already have had their effects kind of added. Depending on how much time I have, I try not to do it on all of them. I have had jobs where I needed to do a little bit more work. I know you can batch stuff out in Lightroom. I know you can do the same in Photoshop. Depends on what works for you. It's definitely important to me that I at least work on a few of my favorites, and then if I have time, I might add a few more, depending. I don't necessarily finish every image. I mean, if you think about, I'm giving 40 to 60 images, or in this case 89, to let my client see. I don't have time in my post to sit there and do work on every single image. If there's something that needs to be done, I can explain it to my client, or they trust me, they see the stuff on my walls. I will make sure that it's a finished piece of work. If it needs any retouching or any color adjustments, I will make sure that I do that before they receive their final prints. I've seen other people that have taken the time to do something to every image, and that's fine too if that works better for you. Again, I'm about the time management, so I do need to make sure that I have time to do other things. So another thing that I would do at this point is if I did have any input on the consultation about what the client's hoping for, if it is, say, press printed cards or baby announcements, or they do want a collage. If I have time and that seems important, I will do a couple artist suggestions. I have a couple templates that I can use. There's two size collages that I offer, which is a 20 by 20 and a 10 by 20. And very easy for me to mock up. I will mock up a couple choices for them, and I'll bring those to their sales session. What I will tell them is if they choose one of the artist suggestions, there's no design fee. They're finished. They're done. We'll make it for them as is. If they do want to make any changes or they want something redesigned, I will charge the design fee for that. So I don't do that for every job, but it depends on the job and depends on the outcome. If I'm able to, it has been great. The ones that I have mocked up, people have purchased, and it's been an easy sale. Okay, so let's go to our next step. I'm kind of whipping along here. Is there anything that, before I move on, I'm going to go into exporting and Animoto and ProSelect. So is there anything more on this stuff I'm on right now?
The black and white shots, that was done with the camera, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I answered on your behalf.
Yeah, there is times that I will do the black and white after. If I think it's necessary or really love a shot and want it black and white, I'll change it, but typically it's straight out of the camera.
And you send your images from Lightroom to Photoshop?
Yes.
And then when you're done editing, you bring it back to Lightroom? And then that's where you export out of?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just save it. I save over the original. You can shoot me now if you want, but I do save over the original file. I do not save another copy. I don't need it. I already have the originals, again, backed up somewhere else, so if I need to go back, I can. It's what works for me.
Well, so, and that is a good question that Raquel asked. She says, or she asks, when backing up, do you delete the photos you don't want, or do you back those up as well?
When backing up.
So when you back up, let's say, so when you do a backup, do you back up the photos you end up deleting as well, or do you?
That's my original disc. So that was way back at the beginning. As soon as I download them, I burn an original disc with all of them. So no matter what, there's an original disc with every image I shot in my client's folder. That's my emergency, made a boo-boo, gotta grab it, whatever I need to do. Rarely it happens, but it has happened. One time I resized an image too small and saved over the original on accident. I think I was making a Facebook image and I saved it over. Oh no! So yes, I did have to go back through and pull out the original file, but it does not happen very often. So that's already burned and backed up. Once I've done my deletes though, I'm done. They're out of there.
And so this question came up a few times, and Don's asking it now, but on average, how long does it take to work? So I'm gonna paraphrase. How long on average does it take for you to edit a single image? Like how much time do you spend? And then how much time do you typically spend on an entire shoot, like editing images?
I can probably do everything I'm showing you right now within an hour, maybe two at most. I edited a friend's job the other day, and I edited an entire senior shoot for him in 10 minutes. Or it was 15 minutes, but they weren't my images, so I wasn't as attached. It is a little harder to edit your own. I think you're a little bit more attached to the images. But within an hour or two, I can pretty much make it through the steps that I need. So that is editing, adding a few effects, exporting them out, doing my Animoto, getting them all ready to go for the client. I would say no more than 2 hours.
Okay.
So I am pretty quick. But again, it's back to the consistency, making sure I do the same thing with every job. The only thing that sticks me sometimes if I'm getting frustrated in the editing process. Too many I like, or maybe I didn't love the shoot. That does happen. Something that might be snagging me there. But other than that, I can usually do it pretty quick.
And I'm going to chime in, and it's a really important point, because I see. Well, so Joel's saying 2 hours for 600 images. No, you don't edit 600 images.
Well, I delete 90% of those.
Exactly. So it's the 10% that remains, Joel. But and then Vivian's is really impressed with the time. And here's the thing, and I speak from experience here. When I shoot and when I process and when I post, I used to be just like you. I used to have my own company, and time is everything. Mm-hmm. And you don't have the luxury of treating each image like its own individual work of art. But that's not to demean that what's important is that Whitney has developed a repertoire. She has this kind of portfolio of looks that she goes to this well, and it would be impossible if you had to treat every single image with a unique style. It would take forever. It would take absolutely forever. And one of the things I hope you show maybe later is, for instance, with Pinterest, how you use those color themes. Mm-hmm, I will never forget that.
That was a good webinar.
Yeah, that was a good webinar. So don't feel like, oh my God, an hour for 100 images. That's great. You think wedding photographers spend that much time? Absolutely not. They're in it to churn through, get a beautiful image or a series of images that are consistent. That's the key.
And I said it at the very beginning. I don't want to work for $2 an hour. And
Right.
you saw that I have a daughter now. She's 1 year old now. That was 6 months that was on my desktop. But I have a baby. I mean, before, I'm guilty. I mean, I would be up late at night while my husband's sleeping up till 2 o'clock in the morning doing editing. I can't do that anymore. I mean, time is even more precious to me now than it was, 10 years ago when I was just a half a kid and don't care, Now I do care, and I need to do my job good. I mean, I need to be able to make my money, and it's back to just being consistent and setting presets, adding my filters and effects. They are presets. I already have kind of figured out what I want. I can do my changes really quick. I do not retouch every image. I do not retouch skin on every image. I only do it in the final ordered images. So everything looks good when they get it, no matter what. And granted, don't get me wrong. I'm not showing crap to my clients for them to see. I mean, they're getting a good set of images. I mean, you see here, there's a pretty consistent look through this. It was beautiful light this day. I had a little bit of help from the sunshine, but easy. I mean, they're getting a great image. I would still finish it a little bit. I would still sharpen them up. I would, if there's anything that needs to be done, little color popping, I would do that in whatever images that they ordered.
Right.
Yeah. Great day on the sun on this. I didn't have to do much, so.
Yeah, nice flare.
Yeah, it was magic that day. So, but yeah, if you're new and you're learning, one thing I learned too is just to master one area first. So if it's, making your editing faster, okay, find your flow. Are you in Lightroom? Where are you? Are you starring them? How is it that you can make that step in your workflow faster? Then you go into Photoshop, and I had to spend a day making presets. I mean, I had a day, and that was my goal. Make presets. What do I want for my kids and babies? Okay, I have, 6 different ones that I really love that represent who I am. Now that step is faster. So it might take a little investment to get ready for something to be quicker, but just focus on one area. Focus on your weak point. Focus on the area that you need to improve on and make that faster. So, okay, we went off in a totally different direction, but let's keep going. So I am going to export these out, and I already did, but I'm still going to show you a little bit here. Once I'm done, so we're done, we're renamed, we're edited, now we're going to work on the exporting so that I can do my Animoto slideshow and my Pro Select, which are both used in my selling. When I export them out, I will put them in the folder. And back to keeping it the same again. So this one's already done, but I have Sano Twins and Sano Export. So they'll have an export file in their folder, or an export folder in their folder. Those are the images that I will use for Animoto and Pro Select. So you go ahead and create that folder. I'm not going to go through this because it's already done. I will typically make them a little bit smaller quality. I do JPEGs. I do color space sRGB. That's mostly for web, and the Animoto and DVD, they're fine sRGB. They do not need to be Adobe RGB. And then if you want to do pixels on the long edge, you can. 1,500 pixels is probably about good. Even 2,000 pixels, you shouldn't need to do much more than that. And then export them out. So we are going to hide this here, and so we are at step Animoto. So let's go ahead and make our Animoto slideshow. So once I have that exported folder out, let me close a few of these things. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Animoto. Did it get closed? Nope, there it is. This is what I will use to make a slideshow that I will show my client when they come in. Best thing I've ever done. Not only is it a super cool slideshow, it's super easy to make. You pay an annual fee, and within 2 sales, I've paid for my annual fee. When clients come in and see this, they immediately say, I want that. Can I buy that? And I sell them the DVD for $100. It's already done. The work is already done. All I have to do is burn it to a DVD and add it with their order. It's super easy. You just create a video and import in those files that you exported that are smaller. So we're going to do an original, just an original. I'm not a fan of all the crazy stuff. I just want an original video. And we're going to create video. and you'll be able to choose your music. You can add your picks. You can select ones that you want to spotlight up in the right-hand corner. This is another one of those things that you might take a little bit of time and go through and pick some favorite songs. I have one here that I love to use with babies. It's called Smile. These are all royalty-free music, so you're able to use them on Facebook or your blog if you want to as well. You don't have to worry about selling somebody's music that you're not allowed to. In this couple little steps you'll do here, it'll render your video and you will be good to go. Here is the video for the Sano twins. It's okay if I play it for just a second? Just a little bit of it?
You can try. It might not play very well, but it'll look good on the local recording.
Just so you guys can see, this is the DVD that it made. So does it play music? Well, it should have music.
It won't play the music
on the video.
Yeah, we're not pushing the music through.
Okay. Beautiful slideshow. This is where I get my tears. I've got my tissue. It's out for my clients. It really does, actually. Animoto does a wonderful job on this. Very, very good selling tool. So there is our Animoto slideshow. And then our next step would be getting them into ProSelect. My selling software is ProSelect. I know there's probably many others out there, and I don't know what you guys are using, or some people could be using Lightroom. ProSelect is pretty fabulous. It can do a lot more than I even use it for half the time. You can show people collages. You can show them clusters. You can show them with their images in them. I've been using this for a few years now. Here's what it looks like. This is ProSelect. If you see up in the upper left-hand corner, we have a happy face, an unhappy face, and a medium face. Nice, huh? So I'm going to add a folder of images. This is what always scares the clients. They think that if they're in the unhappy face, I'm deleting the images. No, 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 we're not deleting them. They're just not our favorites. So I will use those same export pictures. And I'll go ahead and import them in. And if you'll see I have the medium face highlighted, I will import them all into there. And when the client comes in, we'll go through them one at a time, and they'll say yes, no, and maybe. The numbers are 1, 2, and 3. So I will go through with my hand on the numbers, and we'll hit each one and say yes, maybe, and no, and move the images into the different categories. Typically, a client of mine will edit theirs in about half. It seems to be about half. And I will help them edit. I mean, there's stuff that's similar. I just want them to pick their kid's face. They might like a different smile than I chose. So they'll kind of edit down with them. This is the first step that I will do in my selling, and then we will work on their order. So we'll just kind of narrow down their images, know what our favorites are, and then we'll work on it.
I've never used this product before.
It's pretty cool.
So it's primarily for image selection?
It's selling software.
Oh.
Like literally. So this is the images that you'll see. So if you remember earlier, I was picking on my photographer friend that likes to crop his images to 8x10.
Yeah.
If you use this software, to the right here, there's some little scissors that will crop it. And if you see down here below, this is a 6:9 or a 1:1.5 ratio. You can actually move this to an 8x10 crop, just so your client understands. That's actually a 5:7. My mouse is a little catchy here. And then if you hit the eyeball tool, it'll crop that image, and you can see what it looks like in an 8x10. So, and that does happen. I have had images that I don't want cropped to an 8x10 crop. They're not going to work, and I let the client know it's going to crop something, and so I'm able to show them. You can show a client what it looks like in black and white. It's probably not the exact black and white, but close enough. I usually warm my black and whites up just a little bit. You can add them to a shopping cart. I used to use this all the time, and I've started writing stuff, but you can use this as well. I have all of my sizing in here. You can add it. You can add the price. It'll show everything that you're seeing here. I used to really like this until I didn't like that my client could see the amount, which you can still hide it, but I didn't necessarily like them to see that. I just like to write it on my piece of paper and kind of know what we're doing and work it out. And then I do a lot of custom stuff where this doesn't necessarily take care of the custom part. I want to write notes, and I mean, you can do it within here. It's all preference. You can, print the order. You can add notes to the thing. But for me, it's faster just to write on a tablet that I have while I'm working on their order. But I've done both, so it can work. There is a little section here that has collages. So you can create your own. You can pop the images in. I mean, this is one of the clusters that you saw on my wall. So you can just pop the images in and let your client see what the cluster is going to look like. You can move them around. You can recrop them. You can do whatever you need to do on that.
This is what you use to build your collages?
This is what I do for clusters, and yes, sometimes for collages. If they're wanting, say, 3 in a row, I'll let them at least see, I need this one, what they would look like. If they're a custom collage, that means there's going to have graphics and stuff. It's not going to show in here, but they can at least see what the images are going to look like.
I see.
Okay.
Very cool. How much, is this a recurring cost?
Nope, I bought it outright. I've had it for so long, I don't even remember what I bought it for.
Okay.
But I paid for it. The Animoto is a recurring yearly cost. This is not. This is another project, though. This took, a day's project to go in and kind of put all this stuff in and create it and learn it and be able to use it nice and fast. But it's definitely worth it.
Do you use watermarks?
For what?
I don't know. Ryan Hold's asking.
No, I don't need them for anything. I mean, if I'm posting something on the web, it does have it. In my Facebook page, I have a border on it. It has my website. It has my logo on it. Those same images go on my blog. If you look at my blog, you'll actually see what the borders and stuff on. But other than that, there's no need for a watermark. The Animoto DVDs are all embedded in it, so they can't take the images off. The Pro Select is mine, so they're not going to have that either.
Cool.
Good.
Mm-hmm. And with that Animoto disc, there's no printing off of that, correct? That's just a playable movie.
It's just a DVD. They have to play it in a DVD player or your computer that plays DVD. You can't get anything off it. That's the best thing about Animoto. Good. So Pro Select, Animoto, and then the 9th step down here we have is to the lab, which I kind of talked about that already, so I don't need to really repeat it, but just putting everything in the lab, getting everything prepped and ready for them. In their folder, I do have their orders. So if we go back to the Sano twins, in their images, I create a folder that says ordered. So anything that they've ordered is within that folder. That's going to get backed up at the end. I'll have it saved. I'll always know what they had. And then that same file would have went into my lab file. So folder. I would have had it saved twice. And then once it's sent to the lab, I throw that file away. So I'm about to my finish here. So let me just finish. So the last step, once I've sent everything to my lab, I will get the images back, deliver them to my client, and I give them about 30 days after they receive their order to add any additional orders. And once they've done that, I archive the images off. And I warn my client of this. That way, they have to charge a archive fee at that point for me to archive them back off. This helps make clients place their orders and not say, oh, I can get that later, because if they say that, they're probably not going to. So I definitely want them to get what they want before I archive the photos. When I archive, I create 2 discs. I will burn that entire folder of the clients. So that Sano twin folder, I will burn that to a DVD with everything in it twice. One will go in their file, so that is their final disc, and that's what I will write on there. It has their ordered, it has all the renamed files, it has any other little thing that I happen to throw in here will be on a final disc. That goes in their folder. And then the second copy, I actually put in a sleeve and I take it off-site. So I have one at my home office and I have one at my studio office. So if something happened and, God forbid, something burned down, I still have that backup final disc somewhere else. And then once the 30 days have hit, I go ahead and delete them off of my computer. That is my final step.
That's awesome. I was going back and forth with Chris, and so Chris had a question about pricing. So with pricing, is that, and this is, I guess, kind of, I might be paraphrasing, but the pricing is fixed from client to client based on what they want. So, like, if client A wants A, B, C, and D, and client B wants A, B, C, and D, the exact same things, they're going to be charged the same price.
Yes. Yeah, I have all my pricing pretty simplified. It's definitely more about it's more about getting my client what they want than nickel and diming. So, for example, if they want a 16 by 20 print, I charge $3.99, $2.99, something like that. No matter if they want a canvas print or a print framed or a print in a mat. I mean, it's more about they just want a 16 by 20 print or a 16-inch print, we would call it, and it's one price. A 20-inch print is one price. So I have it pretty simple, and my seniors are the same price as my kids and babies and family. Even weddings, if we shoot a wedding, everybody has the same. I know some people do separate pricing for people, but to me, I am all about keeping it simple, and there's no need for it. I mean, it is the same product regardless.
There are a few other questions. So Carol's asking, do you charge, if someone wants additional Animoto DVDs, do you charge additional money for it?
Yep. I charge $99 for the DVDs.
For each one?
For each one, yep. And people buy them. I've had people buy 3 and 4 of them and give them away. I put them in a cute little case, and I make them very Bliss, but the work is pretty much done, so it's easy money.
Right. Now, this is a good question about archiving to DVD. Do you buy any specific type of DVD, or do you just buy a spindle of blank DVDs?
Yep. Whatever works in your computer is all. I think I've got sometimes certain ones work better than others, but we just head down to the office store and buy a spindle of them, yeah.
I like this question. And I like this question because I like the answer. So Ryan's asking if you've ever had a client come back and essentially insist on getting the digital copies of your images, and how do you protect yourself from that?
So I have never had this happen. Back to the pre-consult, if you have that pre-consultation and the client is looking for a digital file, then I'm not the client or not the photographer for them. There's 100 photographers. There's probably many of you that give negatives, and that's okay. If that's the way you choose to do business, that's fine. It's just not who I am. So if somebody is coming to me, they are coming for that finished art piece, whatever it may be. And I try to make that as clear and honest as possible up front. I mean, again, I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want them to be disappointed. And if they want to go print their stuff, that's okay. I've had clients come. In fact, I have one that I'm shooting coming up that wanted to hire me for their wedding. I wouldn't give them the files. They hired somebody else, and now they had a baby. And she's held my name this whole entire time, and she came and met with me and said, basically, she learned her lesson. She has her images on a disc sitting in a drawer. She's never done anything with them, and she's very disappointed with the photos. And so they said this time they're not making the same mistake. They're having a baby. They want me to do it. She's super excited. I'm excited to work with her, but she is coming for an album. She's coming to get something that's done for her, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's the artist that I want to be, and those are the clients that I want to have. I mean, I don't need a million clients. I just need the right clients.
That's right. That's exactly right. Do you ever offer, this is Tava's question about discounts for loyal customers, or do you do a Christmas blowout?
Not usually. I'll do little things here and there where it's, a free DVD with sessions this month, or a free Facebook timeline picture with a session, or if you come in on a Tuesday, I'll do half-price session. I mean, I have little things that I will do. I have done some holiday sets in the past. People seem to like that. It's not my absolute favorite thing to do. Obviously, it's not a huge money maker, but it is nice for clients that want to just come in and get Christmas cards and want a Christmas set. You kind of have to choose your battles a little. I mean, you got to choose what's the most important and where you have your time is best spent.
Francis is wondering when you collect payment.
The session fee is paid at time of session unless they want to pay it at consultation. Either one is acceptable. And then when they come in for their design session, we do a minimum of half up front and half when the order's delivered. Some people pay all of it, but I give them the choice. They can do either or. And
so Vivian asked a question earlier on, and I liked it. And this is I like it. I kind of want to know myself, but what's the average from time of shoot to time of delivery of the product? Average time?
I would say probably 4 weeks, because if they come in for a session, I usually do a couple weeks to have them come back to look at the images, and then I usually say 2 to 3 weeks on delivery depending on what they ordered. If there's custom framing, we're looking more like at 3 weeks by the time I get the frames back. If there's no custom framing, then it's probably about 2 weeks.
I know you guys have a printer at home and you've done canvas stuff. Like, do you do that? What's the rate at which you'll do your own canvas wrap at home versus sending it out to White House or MPICS?
We don't send any wraps out.
You do all your wraps?
Yep, all of the canvas wraps are done in-house on our printer. We send out only regular framed prints, so that I want mounted. So regular, I texture all my prints, so linen textured prints mounted on a board. We send those to White House to print.
What about like metal? Do you do any metal?
I've never done any metal before. I think that for babies and kids,
not
so much. Seniors maybe, or something kind of funkier. But for I'm a little bit more whimsical and just need more kid stuff, I think.
Oh, here's a good question. This Ryan asked it, and this was also a question asked earlier that I'm glad, Ryan, thank you for reminding me, about assistants. Do you use assistants at all? Vivian asked it earlier, and Ryan's saying, do you have an assistant or you shoot by yourself type of thing? I know that a lot of people here don't really necessarily have the budget or the need for an assistant, but how do you work?
I don't usually have an assistant. Dan, my husband, I was joking earlier about him being part of the business where I'm the boss. He does some of the behind the scenes. So he does do the printing and the canvas, and if I really need somebody, he can help. Sometimes I have my little sister or somebody can help me with the shooting part, just holding a light disc. But for the most part, it's pretty much all me. So, I mean, again, back to not needing a million clients. I mean, I need enough to keep me busy, but I don't have too many.
This is, so here what Whitney's showing you is one of my favorite things and one of the things I respect most about her. When she showed me this, I was really impressed because it really shows the artist within the photographer here. So Whitney, why don't you talk about what's coming up here?
So I know this doesn't really have to do with this webinar, but Brian likes to bring it up every single time. He's right. So I did a webinar, if you did or didn't hear, but it is online, about design. And I will say it 1,000 times. I am a photographer, but I am also a designer. And I am as much a graphic designer as I am a photographer anymore. And a lot of what I give people are albums and things that are designed, whether they be custom collages or something that I've created. Pinterest has been a wonderful thing. If you are a Pinterest user, you probably saw my name is Bliss Whitney. You're welcome to follow. If you are not a Pinterest user, you can email myself or Brian, and we'll send you a invite. I think we have to invite you or something. That's fine. But this is my color inspiration board. And on here, I have all these different things. I've got a few font things that I love, all the little colors. And these are the same idea what I'll use in my design, as I will have a color palette that I'll work with. When I'm doing an album design, I'll use the same palette throughout. And I create design boards. And this is back to a whole nother subject again. But Brian likes this, so here it is. I'd be here another hour if we went back into this, but I wanted to be able to show. I'm happy to answer more questions, though. You guys can keep going. Keep bringing them on.
Where are the fonts? I knew this would come up, but the fonts?
On here, on the Pinterest board?
Yeah.
They're listed. If you follow this board, you'll see them. You can go find them. Fonts, I think if you click on them, it'll take you to where they are. I've used some of these fonts. There's one back here a little ways that I downloaded all of them. Most of them are free fonts. Yeah, you'll see there's a ton in here. I have this whole collection.
Here, you know what? Give me a second. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type the URL in the chat module so everyone can go to it right now. So it's pinterest.com/blisswhitney/color-inspiration.
I love fonts, so I have lots of different fonts that I use. I definitely use them within my album design. I'll use 1 or 2 different fonts, but I like different things, so I'm always looking for something more.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is the sign of a true designer and photographer. It's awesome. I don't get Pinterest. I know. I try. I have my account on one software has an account.
I'm addicted.
I can't get into it, but when I see stuff like this, it's like, wow, that's really awesome.
I think it's just it's a source of inspiration too, whether or not you take anything more out of it. Just being able to go through and kind of see palettes of colors. I mean, I love this. I mean, just looking at it, I think, oh, this would be a really cute little baby collage even. Just being able to see the colors and how they go together.
Is Pinterest invite only still?
It is invite only. It should be. It should be.
So everyone, just
It should be. Like I said, if you email me or Brian, we just need your email. We can send you an invite on it.
Yeah, I'll put the
Here's
general...
an invite, friends. Do you have somebody that needs an invitation?
Yeah, we could do that afterwards.
Yeah, so you can be able to do it.
ConnectedonOnesoftware.com. So, with that,
I don't know if there's any other little last-minute ones. I mean, that was pretty much my workflow. I appreciate that you guys were listening, and I hope you learned something out of there.
No, I thought this has been fantastic. And Vivian actually, I think, is one of the MVPs for questions here. She's been asking some really awesome ones. But what she asked earlier on also was, when you're on the shoot, do you ever chimp with the client? Do you ever show them the images as you're taking them?
Heck yeah. That's the best thing you could do, actually. Well, and that's my excitement, too. Yeah, I always do. As soon as I'm excited about an image, I'm like, look, and then they get all excited, and they're excited to shoot more. So I think so.
That's cool.
Well, and I'm an Instagram user, too, so I could give you this one, too. On Instagram, I will actually use my iPhone and shoot the back of my camera of a shot that I like and post it on Instagram so my clients get to see it as well.